One of the most difficult decisions you're going to have to make as a business owner is what to do with your cash. How much to reinvest in your business, how much to put on your personal balance sheet. That's where we come in, helping high growth entrepreneurs make sure that they optimize the cash in their business and in their personal life. My name is Luke Turner, co-founder of Moment Private Wealth. We help athletes and entrepreneurs get smarter with their money. Let's dive into today's topic, how to optimize the cash in a high growth business. For high growth entrepreneurs, one of the most difficult decisions they have to make is what to do with the excess profits. And if you had to guess, one of the most common mistakes we see is that we reinvest too much too fast into the business without building up any liquidity on our personal balance sheet. So when we think about high growth entrepreneurs, how do we frame up this conversation? Because the reality is the way that they've gotten to the success level that they're at today is by putting all their eggs in one basket. But what you have to remember is the key to keeping wealth versus growing wealth are two totally different skill sets. One of those high growth entrepreneurs are typically very good at. The second, they are very bad at. They're normally very good at creating wealth. They're normally very bad at keeping wealth. So what framework do we use to make sure that every high growth entrepreneur we work with keeps their wealth? Well, it starts with bifurcating their goals into two buckets. First, it's personal goals and business goals. Although there's a lot of overlap between somebody's personal goals and business goals. And again, the way that we like to look at those goals is we always want them to be SMART goals. They want them to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. It is key to make sure that it has all five of those areas in order to ensure that that goal can be met. So now that we have our personal goals and our business goals, how do we look at it inside of each one of those buckets? So from a cash management perspective, let's start with the business, because the reality is in order for the profits to continue coming in, we need to make sure that we are hitting certain goals on the business side. So we start with the business and we say, one, what are our short-term goals in the business? And then two, what are our long-term goals? So starting with the short-term goals, some of the biggest things that we need to look at on the business side is, one, what are our capital expenditures that are known? So an example of this would be, we're going to go out in the marketplace and we're going to buy some new trucks as we continue to grow our business. Or there's going to be 5 new significant hires that we're going to have inside of our business. Those are specific goals that we have in mind that are going to require us to invest capital into them. Making sure that we know those in the short term is very important. And it's the exact same on the personal side, making sure that we're aware of any capital expenditures that are coming up. This is going to be the first core tenet to us making sure that we are managing those profits and that cash properly as it's coming in from the business. Some examples that we often see on the personal side from a short-term perspective are maybe we're doing a remodel on our house. Maybe we're buying a second home. Maybe we want to go on 2 or 3 vacations this year. Maybe we have a kid going to college, or maybe we want to retire our parents. No matter what your short-term goals are, making sure that we're accounting for it so that way we can give direction to cash in the short term. So once we've determined what those short-term goals are, both on the business side and the personal side, then we move to our long-term goals. And when we look at our long-term goals, really what we want to make sure that we are accounting for is in 5 or 10 years, what we don't want to happen is we don't want to wake up 5 to 10 years from now and wonder, where did all the money go? Unfortunately, this is a very common mistake we see with business owners and high growth entrepreneurs, where as they continue to grow their business, they just continue to spend more. And they've gone from being able to buy that new truck to being able to buy that $3 million lake house. There's nothing wrong with going out and buying those things, but making sure it's aligned with what your long-term vision is, both on the business side and the personal side, is a key to making sure that you have a successful financial plan. So let's look at some of the things that we try to focus on specifically in the business from a long-term perspective. So the first is making sure that we have clear direction on where we're going. One of the biggest mistakes we see entrepreneurs make is as they continue to grow, they lose direction. It started out as trying to make a quick buck, then it turned into building a true organization. And now it's probably time for us to start deciding, okay, how much do we need to reinvest in the business in order to grow to that next level? And oftentimes those are questions of, why are we growing? Are we growing to increase our income? Are we growing to put ourselves in a position to exit the business? Growing with the goal that we're going to be able to acquire additional businesses in the future? For entrepreneurs, the important thing to remember is there's no right or wrong answer to this, but we do want to make sure that we've identified those goals. So that way we know we do not continue moving the goalposts. Okay, so that's what we're looking at on the long-term goals for the business. And now on the long-term goals for the personal side, this is key for making sure that we don't end up 10 years down the road and we still have all of our eggs in one basket. Part of our job as advisors to high growth entrepreneurs is looking at the business and saying, okay, how much can we take out of the business reasonably? And then what should we do with it on the personal balance sheet? So in a real life example, typically the decisions that we're making are, one, we're looking at the business and we're saying how much cash we need to keep in the business from an operating perspective. What are our known capital expenditures that we just talked about? And then how consistent is our cash flow in the business? Because certainly we never want to be in a position where we're running low on cash in the business. Because at the end of the day, it's the one thing you can't run out of, cash in the business. So once we've identified that, then we start to look at and do a reverse engineering exercise where we say, okay, if there's $1 million left over after all of these items that we've accounted for in the business, what do we want to do with that? For a lot of families, the way that they approach it is a portion of it goes onto their personal balance sheet and a portion of it goes back in the business. And again, this is going to be very specific to your family and your needs. There's no one size fits all. For some families, it's $500,000 a year that we're pulling out. And for other families, it might be multi-millions of dollars. But the goal is not that we have a one size fits all plan, but rather we have something that we can look back on and we can hold ourselves accountable to and say, we said we wanted to get here in 5 years, 10 years, 1 year. Are we there? So to recap, from a cash management perspective, we really need to look at two components. We need to look at our personal goals, then we need to look at our business goals, and we need to separate each one of those into two areas, our short-term goals and our long-term goals. Once we've identified those and meshed them together, we then have a map from a goals perspective that we can run with, and we can make sure that we do not move the goalpost and we put ourselves in a better financial position to accomplish our goals down the road. If you have any questions about cash management in your business or cash management in your personal life, feel free to check out the link below to our website. You can schedule a call with me and we can talk through some of these issues.